What is up, Raveraide fam? Welcome to another episode of the Raveraide podcast with your host, Tyler Hardy. And I just wanted to take a moment to express my overwhelming love and gratitude to each and every single one of you guys who tune in and listen to the podcast on a daily and weekly basis, with the emphasis around helping you become the most self-actualized, self-loved version of yourself, so then that way you can express your unique gift with the world and make the world a better place, because right now we need it now more than ever. And so I just want to thank you guys for tuning in as always and supporting what we're doing here at Raveraide. We're growing like crazy. We're seeing a lot of new people come into our ecosystem and family, and we're super grateful for all of you who share the word and the message of what we're trying to do inside of the EDM community, because we have some really big plans and we do it all for you guys. So on today's episode, I want to talk specifically about kind of a metaphysical subject, but something that I found that is really important in regards to working through energy that you can't necessarily pinpoint the causation of it. And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes it's not always having to do with this lifetime. Sometimes we have energy and memory that carries over either from past lifetimes or epigenetically. And I'll kind of tell you guys a story about something I experienced this just like maybe a couple hours ago that, really sparked the idea for this episode today. And so basically, every single morning I wake up and I meditate. And right now, currently, I'm doing a microbiome cleanse. So I'm feeling very clean and clear, and my channel feels really good. And I feel very tapped in regards to like my mental clarity, my digestive health. I just feel really good. No inflammation in my body. I'm going to be doing an entire podcast specifically about the cleanse that I'm doing right now, because I think a lot of you guys could benefit from it if it calls to you. So we're happy to share that resource, because it's really done a number for my quality of health, my energy, my vitality, and just the way that I feel overall. But I was in a meditation this morning, and there was a particular energy that I've been working through, or wanting to get to the root cause, because it's important to know that when you're really working on improving your energetic health and healing up traumas or things like that, you've got to get to the causation. You've got to get to the root, because if you don't get to the root, then it's going to resurface. It's going to show itself in another way or form until you get down to the exact cause of what is causing you to energetically interact with that frequency. And so it's important to know that, when you're going through, energy work, it's not just what's happened in this lifetime. Sometimes it can be alluding to specifically epigenetics. And epigenetics is basically the history of your family genealogy per se. So you carry information from your ancestors upwards of 14 generations in the past. And so I'll touch more about some things I've noticed about, things that are going on in the world that could be impacted by that we're not really looking at per se. But for right now, I want to talk about what my experience was. And so specifically, I was working around like some energy of like scarcity or lack, and it's something that I've experienced in my life, and I've had my own experiences in my personal life with my parents, and where I come from and where I was brought up from, and sometimes not having enough, or being in that fight or flight, or being in scarcity around money, or not having enough, or safety in regards to like living situations, stuff like that. And so I feel like I worked through all of that, and I realized that like my parents shortcomings, or my parents' traumas and challenges, or things that they came from, that was them, and they did the very best that they could. And there's no sense in me bringing that into my now moment. Like I talked about on yesterday's podcast, is that nothing is stopping me from being abundant. Nothing is stopping you from being abundant in this moment. If that's something that you're working on, even if there was something from your past or your childhood, or you didn't have a lot growing up, that was your childhood, that was your past. The only thing that's bringing that into your now moment is you, and the energy, and you reliving that moment, and then reaffirming to your body that you're living in that state still, because it can't differentiate the real experience and what's happening in your mind. And so basically I tapped into my meditation and really wanted to go deep, and like, okay, why do I still feel these things sometimes? Like it's very few and far in between, but I still feel it. So there's something there that I need to go deeper on. There's something more that I can do to get to the causation of this. And when I landed on is that I had a family history of scarcity, and it's something that's carried on for numerous generations. Dating back past my grandparents, I've noticed that in my family, they've all struggled with financial well-being. And it's something that's been carrying, and I look at it like it's definitely something to do with epigenetics. So I really tapped into like, what was that experience like, or what was the causation of that? And there was something that happened a long time ago where something was taken from my family, and there was something that was taken, and I could feel that energy. I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what it was that was the cause of that exact moment, but I could feel the stress and the lack and the scarcity that is passed on generation after generation. I saw, where my grandparents come from, and then I saw how my parents worked to get to a better place than where they came from. And I feel like it's almost, my responsibility to put an end to that story, to put an end to that suffering. And so then that way, my future generations don't have to struggle. They don't have to deal with that. And if you're one of those people who doesn't really believe in like what I'm saying, that's completely fine. More power to you. But it's one of those things where, regardless of, where it comes from, whatever the belief system is like the reason I'm doing it is because I want to end that story. I desire to end that story and that belief system in my family. And I feel that part of my life's, purpose is to do that. And so it's one of those things where I really felt into the energy. I could feel my family bloodline. I could feel, the struggle that they've been through. And I realized that it doesn't have to be like that anymore. We live in a world where there's so much infinite opportunity for you to be whatever you want to be, make the amount of money that you want to make, show up in the way that you want to show up, that there's no excuse for you not being able to, other than the stories that you subscribe to on a daily basis that keep you stuck in limited patterns. And that's completely okay. It's just one of those things where you get to work through that. You get the opportunity to see things from a different perspective. And once you see it from a different perspective, you see how absurd it is that you're keeping yourself from abundance and prosperity and joy and happiness, to the point where that outdated belief system no longer is congruent with your reality, and you easily let it go and you replace it and you create space for something new. So I spent about 15-20 minutes inside of that meditation, and what ended up happening was I really felt like I got to the core of it. I really felt like I was able to release it and know that I'm supported in every single thing that I'm doing, not only from the people that are in my current life, but also my family and my ancestors, and everyone who has ever come before me to get me to this exact moment is supporting and cheering me on and wants the best for me. And I just needed to want the best for myself and to rewrite the story. And so in that way, my family's last name has a different, energy to it, because it's more than just a name. It's the energy around the name, and it's how you treat that name, and it's about how you respect that name. And I know a lot of people, they have a lot of challenging struggles, or parents who didn't do a very good job. And, it's either you repeat the cycle, or your future generations are going to have to heal from the things that you didn't want to look at and the things that you didn't want to heal in yourself. And I can tell you right now, you want to give your future generations the best shot at being happy, being, in a place to thrive and be successful and joyous, and whatever it is that you're wanting that maybe you were missing in your young adult life. Like, you want to be the one who ends that cycle of trauma, that cycle of suffering. And I know that you can do it. And I know that you were the one that was meant to come here and break those cycles, to break those patterns and become better than what you thought you could be. So then that way you can pass and instill those beliefs and that ideology into future generations, or even just people that you meet on a daily basis, and help them and encourage them to be a better version of themselves through and throughout. So what I'm getting at here is that once you clear that energy out, once you get to the root cause of what it is that's actually causing you that suffering or trauma, and you're able to look at that truth in the face, you're able to process it, and you're able to see that there is a better potential for yourself, what that's going to do for you is that creates space. And not just space in regards to the physical sense, it creates energetic space. Because part of your energy, part of your capabilities and capacity, we're stuck in that story and that belief system. So once we unhook ourselves from that belief system, it creates an opportunity energetically to replace it with something new, to replace it with more abundant thoughts, to replace it with more, bandwidth on a daily basis, to focus on what it is that you're wanting to create, to give yourself more motivation in regards to knowing that this isn't just about you. It's about, correcting, family generational traumas and issues that have been plaguing your bloodline for a long time, and it gives you the opportunity to really be the one who makes that change, because someone's got to make that change. Every single family or family that was, successful or wealthy. It started with somebody who made that change, who decided that they didn't want to continue that family, lineage of struggle, lack, scarcity, or lower vibrational frequency. They all made a choice and a decision that put them into a place where they were able to find that example out in the outer world that validated the belief system that they are wealthy, they are abundant, they are healthy, they are happy, they're joyous. And this isn't just come down just to money. This is specifically about subconscious patterns in the family bloodline. It comes down to beliefs. I'll give you a good example. Like in my family, really strong family history of men who were very emotionally closed off, and I could see how that was starting to play out in my life as I've gotten a little bit older. And I'm like, nope, I refuse to be like that. I do not want to be like that. I'm going to express myself in a healthy way. I'm going to get to the root cause of what's causing a family history of really closed off men who don't express their emotions very well. And I started realizing that all of their inner childs were damaged and hurt by their fathers. And it's our job to go back and heal that inner child. And even though our parents may not be the ones who help us heal or see that, it's your job to go back in and give yourself that love and appreciation for who it is that you are. So then that way you can transcend, and that way you can get past, that limiting belief or that, recurring family theme. And so then that way you can teach your future children or, just treat others better in the now moment. And so, what I'm wanting to get at here is sometimes energy goes deeper than just what's happened in your current lifetime. And it's one of those things where everything's happened in the now. So the past, all the past family generations, it's all happened in the now. So we can tap into that energy and actually be present with that and get to the root cause, because sometimes it's not things that you've personally experienced that are keeping you weighed down. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. And I've noticed that people who, we live in a world where a lot of people have been repressed over the course of human history, specifically with slavery, things like that. And I noticed that a lot of people still feel repressed, and there still is repression that goes on in the world. So I'm not denying that that's not happening. What I'm getting at, though, is some people feel like they're repressed, and they may not be able to know why. They may not have any living examples of where they've been repressed in their life, but they still feel that feeling, and they carry that on. And that is epigenetics right there. That is your ancestors' bloodline and energy being transferred to you. So then that way, you still feel that way. You still carry out, that subconscious belief system. And, if you are being repressed in this lifetime, I'm not denying or negating that in any way, shape, or form. But I noticed that there's still almost an energetic undertone to all of it, where we, have the opportunity to heal. We have the opportunity to forgive. We have the opportunity to be better. We have the opportunity to heal ourselves. So in that way, we don't have to carry that ongoing, because at the end of the day, we want to make a happy, joyous, prosperous world for every single person, right? It doesn't matter skin, color, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is that every single person here can thrive and express themselves in a free and loving way and not impede other people's ability to do the same thing. And so if you're someone who feels like this, any particular energy, and you can't pinpoint what it is, it might be something from, ancestral. It could be epigenetic in nature, and it could be an opportunity for you to tap into that energy and feel that pain, feel that challenge, feel that suffering, and then realize that you don't have to carry that into your now moment. You don't have to carry that into your lifetime or future generations' lifetimes. And that's how we heal, because it's not just about us in this moment. The decisions that you're making right now in your life to make the change, to do the healing, to become the better version of yourself, you are saving so much challenge and struggle and conflict for future generations, for your children, for their children's children, and ongoing, because you're the one who put an end to it. You're the one who put an end to the suffering, the limiting belief systems, the one who, stood up and said, even though this is going to be challenging, it's important that I do this. Not only just for future generations, but most importantly for myself, because I deserve it. I want to live a high quality experience, and I want to give myself everything that maybe I didn't get when I was younger. And I need to, give myself all the things that I never got: the love, the validation, the support, the, whatever it is that you were missing that you didn't get. And that could be from, lifetimes of family generational limitation, you can give that to yourself right now and put yourself into a position where you completely rewrite the course of history for your family lineage. And that's such a cool thing to be able to do. And, for a long time, if someone, told me this, and I would kind of brush it off and I wouldn't care, because I didn't really think about my family. I didn't really think about, generational stuff like that, because my family is, where I come from, is very fragmented. Like, family doesn't talk to each other. Like, there's no, holidays. They didn't do that stuff. So it's not like I had like a strong family background here and people that I spend a lot of time around. But this is something that goes beyond the physical. It goes into metaphysics. It goes into, energy. And it's more about you than anything else. It's about healing yourself. It's about not carrying the burdens of previous generations. You don't have to carry. The only reason we carry them is because we're either unaware of them or we have a belief system that leads us to believe that we should carry them. I carried a lot of guilt. I carried a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of worry, specifically like around money. And I just realized how ridiculous all of that is, how dumb that is, because I have an opportunity to completely change the course of not only my life, but the lives of others, the lives of people that I don't even know, the lives of the community, the lives of my future family. And I can change all those things, and nothing's stopping me from doing that in the now moment. And that's where I want to get, as many people to. And this isn't, again, just not just about the financial aspect of it. This is also about, healing, confidence, belief in yourself, belief systems. I want to get you to the point where you recognize inside of yourself that there's nothing more important than your well-being. There's nothing more important than your now moment. And that the only thing that's keeping you from all of the things that you want in your life is limitation that was either set upon you by yourself or others. And we're going to deconstruct all those things. We're going to break those things down and show you how, essentially absurd a lot of it is. So then that way you can see the truth for what it is you actually are, what you are capable of being, what you're capable of becoming. So then that way you can start defining your reality by something that's greater than yourself in the future, as opposed to things that have happened to you in the past. And that shift right there is what is going to empower you to become what it is that you're meant to become. And that's what we're here to do at Raveraide. And that's what I'm here to do on this podcast, is to encourage and guide you to that ultimate destination of whatever that looks like for you, because I'm not here to define it for you. You're here to define that for yourself. And when you get the opportunity to do that, that's when life really is lived. Because I think that's the reason why so many people struggle, and I talk about this on a lot of the podcasts, is people struggle because they're, depressed, anxious, have suicidal tendencies, their neurochemistry is off, their adrenal glands are beat to hell. Like, you just keep going down the list of things. It's like, yeah, all these things are compounding into, lesser quality existence than what's possible for you. And you owe it to yourself to give yourself the best experience. You've gone through so much of this life experience. You've done so much. You've been through so much. You've experienced so much that don't you want to experience what the upper echelon of life is like? Because you deserve it. You deserve it more than anyone. Just like I realize I deserve it more than anyone. We all deserve it together. We deserve this as something that we get to experience together and create something even greater. Because I know that I can only do so much by myself, right? I can only do so much behind a microphone. But I know that if you're healing and they're healing and so-and-so's healing and that your friend's healing and we're all healing together and becoming the best version of ourselves, when we all come together and our life path crosses you with the people that you're meant to create with and be with, then you're going to see like the amplification of human potential when you've got, thousands and millions of people living in their gifts that are healed, that are not carrying heavy energetic, debris with them that is keeping them stuck in, repeating family themes and patterns. It's going to put you in a place where you are working in a level of genius. You're working in a level of connectedness to something greater. And it's going to put you in a place where you're going to be one of those exceptional human beings, and people are going to ask you, how do you do it? What's the secret? And the secret is healing. The secret is taking the time to get to know yourself on a deep, intimate level and seeing why it is the way that you are. So then that way you can put yourself in a position where you're not tied to old stories and beliefs and things that are keeping you living at a half capacity of what you're really capable of. You're going to be stepping into levels of genius. You're going to be pushing the bounds. You're going to be putting that extra work in. You're going to be devoting yourself on a deeper level. You're going to be more connected to life and nature. You're going to be willing to take that risk because it's something that you see, that you know that you need to do. And it puts you in a life of living, because I, for many years, did not live. I was completely checked out, disassociated, and repressed from my capacity and potential because I was afraid of everything and everyone, and what, I just lived in what I would not want any other human to live in. And I just don't live in that anymore. I refuse to, because I only have so much time here, and I want to inspire people, and I want to put people into a position where they know that they're, capable of anything. And so I can't be that person. I don't want to be that person anymore. And that's why, as you start to heal and you start seeing that vision of your future come into play, you start seeing those outdated stories and those belief systems that are incongruent. You're like, I don't want to be that person. I don't identify to that person anymore. And you let that piece of you go with love and understanding. So that way you create the space to become what it is that you're capable of becoming. So then that way you can do whatever it is that you want to do with your life, rightfully so. And so that's pretty much how I want to wrap up today's episode. The big thing that I want you to take away or ask yourself is, like, if you've been feeling any sort of like heavy energy that, you just haven't been able to get to the causation of, have you considered that it could be something epigenetically related, or it could be something from a different lifetime that you're bringing into this lifetime? Because there's definitely a correlation and connection. And I know that it's something that's hard to prove. It's something that you have to feel into. And just through my experience, like I mentioned before, like, it's very anecdotal, like that's something that's played a factor in my life and my experience, and I have a suspicion that it could be playing a factor in your life. And if it is, and it resonates for you, and what I'm saying feels like it's truth, then lean into it more. If it doesn't, then go on to the next episode and find some more information that might be beneficial and pertinent to your current spot in your life. Because like I said, 3, 4, 5 years ago, if I was listening to this podcast, I wouldn't really even comprehend what I'm saying right now. So it might be one of those things that you come back to, in a year or two, and then it makes sense, right? Or maybe it never makes sense. But it's all about you finding and tuning that inner truth inside of yourself to find where it is that you're meant to go, because you are the ultimate guide and compass to what it is that you're supposed to experience. I'm just here to help you change your perspective, see greater potentials, and then take on what feels true to you. So that way you can make those transcendental breakthroughs and see that greater potential for yourself and be what it is I know that you can be. And that's what we're doing here at Raveraide. That's what the company is all about. It's about optimization of the physical body, about the mind and the soul, so then that way you can be completely actualized and self-loved and not need anything outside of yourself to feel complete and whole. Because I know that that's possible for every single one of us, but we were never taught that. We were never led to believe that we could be anything more than what life dealt us. And life will deal you whatever it is you ask for and whatever it is that you believe that you're worthy of. And I know that, you're worthy of way more than what you've given yourself. You're always worthy of more. You're always worthy of more love, more abundance, more kindness, more opportunities to connect with nature, with others on a deep level. Like, you're worthy of so much more than that. The question is, are you allowing yourself to do that? Or are you carrying on energy and generational traumas that are keeping you stuck in a belief system that's no longer valid for you? Really ask yourself that. This podcast is about you. I want you to know that this is a safe place for you to ask yourself those questions, that it's a good place for you to be introspective and reflect and see, different potentials without being judged or without being in a place where you're, it's, too woo-woo. It's not about that. We want to put you into a place where, you're able to sit with yourself and be honest with yourself, because the quicker that you're honest with yourself, the quicker that you can sit with yourself and the things that have been challenging you or holding you back, the quicker that you get to heal and the quicker that you get to get on with what it is that you were capable of. And I want to get as many humans to that point as possible before my time is up. And so that's what I'm going to do day in and day out. And that's my commitment to you guys. And that's my commitment through Raveraide, and our team's commitment is that, we do this because we love you guys. We do this because we see a greater potential for human capacity. And I wasn't okay with sitting on the sidelines any longer, not speaking the truth about what things are actually important and things that might be pertinent to you in your life. So then that way you can become what it is that you're meant to become. So, if you're wanting to get more into that in regards to like the energetics of everything, it takes time to cultivate a meditative practice. So if you don't know where to start with meditating and focus on, becoming no person, no place, and no time, letting yourself just relax and, come into the present moment and watch how your mind works. Watch how it operates. It's got the entire map for what you need to work on and get to work on to get the life that you want to live and the things that you get to resolve and heal. And so start with a meditative practice. Start looking into different modalities of breath work, and start hacking your physiology into higher levels of consciousness, and start feeling that connection. Because the only reason that we're living in the world that we live in is because everyone's disconnected. They don't realize that at any given moment they can tap into something greater than themselves and become whatever it is that they want to become. And it takes time. It's a metamorphosis project, or project essentially, where you're going to go through multiple death cycles and rebirth cycles, and you're going to become over and over and over and over again. And that's the beauty of the human experience. It's very cathartic. It's very transcendental. Like, enjoy that. Love that experience, because the person that you're becoming as a result of that is something that you're gonna be able to look at into the mirror one day and look at and say, man, I really love this version of myself, and I'm grateful that I did the work, and I'm grateful that I healed the family traumas. I'm grateful that I broke the cycle. I'm grateful that I'm the one who did this, because I just not only made my life better, but I made my future generations' life better, and I made the world a better place because I healed myself. You make the world a better place when you heal yourself. Point blank, end of story. And so know that, if you're not going to do it for you, do it for the rest of the world. But eventually it'll get back to you that you're doing it for you, and you're doing it. And as a byproduct, the world's becoming a better place. And I'm excited to see you there as I continue on my journey. And if there's anything that we can do for you here at Raveraide, we're here to support you, love you, be that family that maybe you didn't have growing up, and just be here, for you. Most importantly, in whatever capacity we can be here for you in. So without further ado, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Be sure to check us out at www.drinkraveraide.com. And as always, we appreciate every single one of you guys who support what we're doing here. We are definitely, closing out the year strong, and we've got some really cool, exciting things coming up. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.